The U.S. men's national team is coming off another disappointing performance, this time with a 0-0 draw of Saudi Arabia, which what is likely our last international friendly before the 2022 World Cup, because we don't have any other games scheduled and the World Cup is less than 2 months away, which made a lot of us very worried. Hi, you're here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to another episode where I put a fake smile to pretend I'm not dead inside. And yeah, today we have the 7 things we learned. It's a series we have here on the channel where every day following a U.S. men's national team match, we tell you what did we learn from this game, okay? And there's obviously much more than 7 lessons. Make sure to comment what did you learn from United States 0, Saudi Arabia 0 on the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to hit the like button. If you do hit the like button, you will find someone that loves you as much as Greg Berhalter loves Aaron Long. And if you already have found someone that loves you in that way, you are a very lucky guy or a lucky gal. But even if you did find someone, thank you. So now we can play the intro, and hopefully by now you already hit the like button and commented what did you learn from Saudi Arabia 0, United States 0. Let's play the intro and let's get it started. Lesson number 1 is Greg Berhalter won't change. Greg Berhalter won't get fired. It is what it is. This, what we're seeing, is what we're going to see in the World Cup. Obviously, I'm going to dive into later in this video of why we can still go through. That can still happen, but it's not going to change. This is it. He will continue to try to play his 4-3-3 possession-based system full of problems that I won't dive into this video again. We talked about it extensively during the live streams, and we also did a 1-minute short sort of summarizing the main issues with his system, so you can check that out. It's just a minute, so it wouldn't take much of your time, but it won't change. He's stubborn, and he will die on this hill. But this team can surprise many during the World Cup, which brings me to lesson number 2. And yeah, so there is reason to also be optimistic, but not because of Greg Berhalter, Coach Lex Luthor. That's not the reason. The reason is crazy things happen in World Cups. Expect the unexpected. So listen, some teams can arrive in poor form and still do well. France tied us before winning the 2018 World Cup. Brazil, back in 2002, had one of their worst World Cup qualifyings ever before winning the World Cup. And of course, what you're going to tell me is, but Filippo, you're comparing world-class teams. But look at this. Even Costa Rica back in 2014, they made it to the quarterfinals. And prior to that World Cup that year, they lost to Chile, they lost to South Korea, lost to Japan, tied Ireland, and only beat Paraguay that was not very good at the time. Despite all of that, Costa Rica, with not such a strong squad, still made it to the quarterfinals, coming out of a very tough group with England, Italy, and Uruguay. World Cup is a short tournament. You do have a reason to be pessimistic as a U.S. men's national team fan, but with a little bit of luck, we can do just fine. Look, just go through past World Cup editions, study a little bit of the history of the World Cup and what happened prior, and you'll see that what I'm saying is true. It is very much true. But of course, there's a couple stats I want to go through that lead me to not really believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. In 2022 versus World Cup teams, this is the U.S. men's national team record. 1 win, 3 losses, and 3 draws. 3 goals scored total and a total of 6 goals allowed. We only scored goals against Morocco. All other 6 games against World Cup teams, we had 0 goals. So yeah, I am extremely worried. It's not looking good, but hey, fingers crossed, maybe a little bit of luck. We figure it out, we get out of a group, and who knows after that what can happen. Okay? I don't truly believe that, but I'm trying to. I hope it happens. Lesson number 3 is national teams don't fear us, and I don't blame them. So talking to different Saudi Arabia experts and even people that follow Asian soccer very closely, all of them said roughly the same. Saudi Arabia is capable of playing attacking soccer, and they do against weaker opponents. But when they feel like they're facing a stronger team, which is what they do versus most World Cup teams, they sit back, play a low block, and counterattack. But was that what we saw against the United States? No, it wasn't. Besides the final maybe 30 minutes of this match or 20 minutes, they attacked us. They didn't really play a low block. They were even playing a high line in the first half, which leads me to believe they don't really think, or they didn't really think, and now they're sure about it, that the United States was not a better team than them. And honestly, they sort of were proven right? This game was 0-0, and it's not like we dominated them. I mean, so it looks like most national teams probably don't fear the United States, and I don't blame them. And again, we're not elite teams that are going to be fighting for titles, but you would expect teams like Saudi Arabia, which are a bit weaker, to, you know, try to defend against us. But no, not the case. And again, what are you going to do about it? Lesson number 4 is more of me begging Greg Berhalter at this point. Enough of Aaron Long. No, seriously, ever since he came back from injury, from the very serious Achilles injury, he's been very poor in MLS and average at best. He's been in poor form for the national team, so enough. He should not be there anymore. But listen to this, ever since we qualified to the World Cup, Aaron Long started every single game. If my memory doesn't fail me, he did start against Morocco, Uruguay, Grenada, El Salvador, Japan, and Saudi Arabia. Enough is enough. And don't get me wrong, many have been underperforming. Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, honestly, pretty much all players this camp did not perform well outside of maybe Matt Turner and Joe Scally. Long is just not good enough for the national team. And what really worries me is Greg might see him as a starter. I mean, he is starting every single game ever since we qualified to the World Cup. Sure, Chris Richards was not available in any of those camps, but we had CCV and Palmer Brown back in June. McKenzie was even an option, even though I do think he's a little bit shaky. Maybe consider bringing John Brooks back. My goodness, even Tim Ream over Long at this point. Just change the system if you have to. It does not work, even for the players that Greg likes. Look, if the system you have requires playing Aaron Long, he needs to be a starter with the players you have available. Change the goddamn system. Also, the way Greg wants to play the possession base, playing out of the back, you need a goalkeeper that's good with his feet, and 2 center backs that are ball playing defenders. Zimmerman and Long are not ball playing defenders, and Turner's not that great with his feet, and Turner should be our starter, and Zimmerman probably as well. How's that going to work? Change the system if you want to play him, right? So again, but look, if it requires Aaron Long playing, just change the way the whole team is playing. This doesn't make sense. Enough of Aaron Long. Lesson number 5 is this Greg Berhalter system. We should not be playing a righty on the left back position. Let me explain to you why. Honestly, there is a case for it because we don't have much depth there. So if A-Rob can't go, you sort of have to play Serginho Dest. But I saw some issues in the game with that. You see, because we play with usually Pulisic on the left wing, or we play with Brendan Aronson, they are both inverted wingers. What do I mean by that? They're wingers that they play on the left side, but they're righty, so they cut inside quite a bit, which is essentially the same thing that happens when you have a right-footed left back, like Serginho Dest, for example. He'll cut inside. They end up running into the same space, and that happened a lot this game with Serginho Dest and Pulisic. You overcrowd an area, and then Pulisic and Dest become very ineffective. In Greg Berhalter's system, the fullbacks need to provide width. Therefore, you don't want the fullbacks cutting inside. So again, due to lack of options, he might have to play Dest there if A-Rob can't go. It just doesn't really work well under this system that Greg Berhalter loves so much. Lesson number 6 is, unless you are going to play a low block, just sit back and counter. Stop playing Weston McKennie, Acosta, and Adams in the same midfield. You kill off any creativity. Look, personal choice for me, I like a midfield of 3-man that has a destroyer, a box-to-box midfielder, and a creator. That's not the case with this midfield with Acosta, Weston, and Adams. Acosta to me is more of a destroyer. The same thing with Tyler Adams, and then Weston's a box-to-box midfielder. It becomes overly defensive and not creative enough. Therefore, it's fine if you're going to sit back and do a low block and just try to beat the opponent in transition. But the way we're trying to play possession-based soccer, it just doesn't work. And look at this. We had 2 shots on target in 180 minutes of soccer played. And honestly, we didn't create much. Accuracy was not the main issue, in my opinion. We only had a total of 11 shots throughout 2 games, and most of them were low-quality shots from distance or just, just not really wide open. The Weston, Acosta, Adams midfield might be only useful if you play a low block, which we never do. Which leads me to lesson number 7, which I want to end on a positive lesson, okay? There were too many negatives this camp, and I do want to talk a little bit of positivity and try to give you some hope for the World Cup, even though a lot of you have lost it by now. I think there's overall 3 positives coming out of this camp. 1, we all saw the United States men's national team get exposed before the World Cup. So I'll remain hopeful and hope Greg Berhalter might rethink it or rethink a little bit of his decisions. But that part kind of contradicts my lesson number 1, that Greg won't change. I don't think he'll change. But 2 other positives were Matt Turner and Joe Scally. So Turner, across the 180 minutes, he was by far our best player. He still looked very sharp despite not playing for Arsenal, which to me, this is massive news. We are really going to need a very sharp goalkeeper in this World Cup, and hopefully Matt Turner is it. I really hope he doesn't start Stefan over Turner. I think Turner right now has to be the number 1. Now, Joe Scally, he did only play 30 minutes, but I thought he looked very good, confident on the ball, sharp. I really liked what I saw from him against Saudi Arabia. It wasn't perfect, but it was a good performance in a game where everyone was being poor, and I think Joe Scally should be in the World Cup roster, but not just because of these 30 minutes. Of course, this is not that much of a data sample, but also because of what he's doing in the Bundesliga. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching the 7 Things We Learned episode. Don't forget to drop that like button if you haven't already, and comment down below, what did you learn from the United States and Saudi Arabia? We're getting close to the World Cup. There's a lot of content coming up here in the channel. We're going to do lots of videos this month of October, and then during November, we're going to focus all on the World Cup. Comment down below also if you made it this far in this video. We'll try to fulfill your request. What national teams do you want us to make videos breaking down for the World Cup? Like exclusive videos of one national team. So if you made it this far, drop that comment and we'll make sure to check it down below. Thank you very much, BetOnline, for sponsoring this video once again. Use the code BLEE50. Thank you for watching and have a great day.